It's time to talk sports. It's time for the show. When you hear this song on the radio, it's time to tune in. Better act fast. Let me get that autograph. Potograph, Sports Talk Radio. Starting now.
Let's go. What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 148 of Let Me Get That Potograph. We are back. Sorry, I had to take a week off due to some family and personal issues, but my name is the D Agent. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Scott Rappaport. It's good to be back, man.
It is. You know, you and I both had some family stuff going on last week. You know, I kind of want to touch on mine briefly, because it does have something to do with the card world before we kind of get rolling. Sure. My father-in-law, Tom Roos, passed away last Monday, kind of unexpectedly. You know, he was a great guy. One of the few people I ever met that worked his entire career for the same company.
Wow.
Well, people from his generation do that, yes. Sometimes. He was a collector, just like us. You know, him and I had that in common. He loved to rip. Unfortunately, it was never the products that, I kept telling him he needed to rip. So we're sitting here with a massive ton of archive, or, some archives, but like Allen and Ginter and Heritage baseball, stuff like that. Huge baseball fan. But yeah, that was unexpected. The funeral's coming up this week, so we still have a busy week with that. We're gonna miss him. Yes. Kind of wish he was still around. And that's my little tribute to Tom. To kind of rolling here.
Absolutely. Well, I collector till the end. Gotta love it, man. And those cards, even though they're Allen and Ginter, Heritage, stuff like that, much more personal meaning, which is something that's really cool in this hobby that I think gets lost on some people sometimes.
That is true. Although when we were going through stuff when he moved out of his house, 3-4 years ago, I have tons of 3,200 count boxes with Allen and Ginter and stuff like that.
Hey, find those egg and cryptocurrency
cards. He kind of stopped like 2015, I think was the last year where he did the major. But I found 2011, the Manny Machados, or not Manny Machados, the Manny Pacquiao's. Yeah. 2014 had the the Dave Portnoy's and and stuff like that. So it's like I'm going through all this stuff, like just looking, because every couple of years, talked about this before, there's always like some random Allen and Ginter card that winds up like boosting the egg from 2019, the cryptocurrency from 2018, and they start going for ridiculous money. So even the ones that I open, I'll usually do a case every year, but I'll put it all aside, and just, every couple of years I'll just do a search and see what crazy thing everybody was going for. And, go through and usually pull out 5 or 6.
That's there's only 2 products I do that with, and it's Allen and Ginter and Bowman.
Yeah. Put them in boxes. Bowman is obvious. Yeah. Bowman is obviously a, rip and stash. That's a little bit different.
Absolutely. Well, I hope everything goes good, and sorry for your loss, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everything. But yeah, guys, we do have an awesome show for you guys today. A lot of stuff going on in the hobby. We'll get right into it, man. We'll dive into the first news, and it hit earlier this week. This episode's coming out on Thursday. We'll be back to our regular Wednesday schedule next week. But this news came out late Monday that first of its kind, but Brian Gray and Leaf taking Ceedee Lamb to the courts.
It's another
Ceedee not fulfilling redemptions, and Brian Gray has filed the first lawsuit against a player for not fulfilling redemptions.
Another day, another lawsuit. I'm not entirely sure what to think. So when we talked about it Monday night, my initial thought was good for Brian. These athletes sign contracts and they, need to fulfill their end of the bargain. There's, how many athletes have gone? I got a buddy of mine who has been waiting on an Andy Dalton redemption from 2011.
I've got redemptions from 2015, 2016, but even that, even nowadays with people stashing wax, you got to be careful. 2020 products are coming up soon. Burrow's a redemption in a lot of those.
Yep.
If he doesn't fulfill those soon, then those to where they know that those cards are there, then the value of those boxes goes drastically down. So redemptions can have a heavy impact they're not going to go drastically down, but my point is they can have an impact on the longevity of boxes. And Ceedee, I mean, granted, these weren't his rookies. He did fulfill his rookie contract. This was a second contract for $100,000 to do second, third, fourth, whatever a year is autos. And apparently he's not doing them. He fulfilled his first obligation. I did speak with Brian. I'll touch on that a little bit later on in this conversation. But yeah, this was shocking to me. This was interesting, but Brian Gray's really the only one that could do this. I mean, like Fanatics and everything really can't do it because you got the Players Association, you've got the leagues, all with revenue sharing now, all getting involved in this. So you don't really see them going and singling out a player, but you've got Brian Gray who does these independent deals and doesn't have licenses. He's kind of able to maneuver these a little bit and do these lawsuits more than I think the big companies could.
Well, I think that with Fanatics, it's a little bit different because the players associations are involved.
Yes.
I don't think there's going to be a problem with players not signing
their money.
Their stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they're getting money, but if it gets to the point where a player drags on long enough and just doesn't sign it, I think the players association is going to get on them.
Yep.
About, hey, you need to get this done. And I think pressure from the players association is going to help with that. So I think in that respect, having the different, players unions and stuff like that, with a share of the revenue is a positive thing.
Yes.
Now, this can go one of two ways as far as this lawsuit. If Ceedee Lamb really didn't, he didn't fulfill his end of the contract, it seems like a pretty straightforward case. I don't necessarily see this go into court. I think that, I think Ceedee Lamb either signs his stuff or, gets it back to him, or he's got enough money where $100,000 for him is nothing. Yeah. So he's going to wind up, paying Brian back, maybe, with a little bit of interest or something like that. But if it does go to court, I think Brian's going to win. The Leaf is going to win. It's a contract dispute. There's not really a question.
And it's a plain. I was about to say it's a pretty open and shut contract. There's not a lot of weirdness going on.
Right.
We paid and shut. Yeah.
Yes. We paid you this. You were supposed to do this. You didn't do it.
You didn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, like I said, I think Brian and Leaf, they're going to win. I don't think there's a question about that. But when they win, is this going to have some sort of chilling effect on the other companies and the athletes and whether or not they are going to sign those types of contracts in the future, knowing that, hey, these guys are all getting serious and it's $100,000. It's $100,000, but to a lot of these athletes, $100,000 is like you and I being paid like $100 to do something.
Right. Yes. At least in Ceedee's case. Now you mentioned the one thing that worries me the most about this, and that is that, as I mentioned earlier, Brian Gray does operate with, individual contracts and things like that per player. And if he's taking these people to court, then this very well could keep some athletes from wanting to possibly sign with him if he goes diligently with this. I can see some players saying that are lazy and lackadaisical and knowing about this that maybe say, hey, I don't want to deal with the legal headache if I decide to not wake up at breakfast and sign 100 cards for a week.
Well, I'm not saying it's they're just gonna hesitate with doing business with Leaf.
No, I didn't mean
because like Upper Deck has a lot of individual contracts with athletes, especially for products like Goodwin and was that Leaf Metal Multisport that or the Upper Deck, or the Fleer Metal Multisport that's coming out and things like that. There's a lot of individual contracts outside of the hockey stuff that they're doing that players may say, okay, well, now there's precedent for one of the companies to come after us if we don't do it. But the reality is, if you take the money and you don't fulfill your obligation, you're stealing.
Yeah.
You're being paid to do something. You didn't do it. It's not the same as, walking into a store and, snagging a box of, cards off the shelf and walking out the door, but it's still stealing.
Yeah.
So
it's robbing the hobby and the fans of the stuff that you're promising when you sign that contract that you're going to be providing to them. So it's not only Brian Gray that's affected, it's all the collectors. I know Ceedee's not Burrow, Herbert, or Brady or something like that, but I mean, Dallas is one of the biggest collecting bases in the world. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league. Yeah,
he's a popular guy to collect because he's good.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the thing. But I don't see. So for the players out there that fully intend on signing everything, even if it turns out that, hey, they're a little bit late getting it back, that turns out to be a redemption. Look at the guys that we've seen in the last couple of years. Wander Franco has had a lot of stuff that's been redemption. Yes. And I don't think I've seen a single situation where, that stuff hasn't been fulfilled. Luis Robert was another guy that's been redemption, especially his rookie season. And even the Panini stuff started coming. I had one, even the Panini stuff has come back. Mike Trout, he's had a couple. I mean, he's live in a lot of products, but he's also redemption in a couple. And he has not failed to fulfill an obligation and sign something. It may take a year, right? But it's still a reasonable. I think it depends. Reasonable. I mean, everybody wants their stuff right now, but
yeah.
For some of these guys, I think a year might be reasonable. I don't know.
I think that they're getting a lot better at doing the redemptions. I think overall, most players are. I know for a fact, I've confirmed this with a source, that Tyler Hero is somebody that is not signing at the moment. He's putting his foot down and may not fulfill his end of the agreement, but I don't see Panini, like I said before, I don't see Panini going after him on that, even though Tyler Hero looks to be somebody who's really putting his foot down against doing it. But he's, like I said, he signed that contract. So you better do it, or hopefully there would be some ramification.
Or maybe they do it where you put the contract in place, but no payment is made until it's fulfilled. But the problem with that is you're still anticipating them to sign their stuff, which means they're still going to be on the checklist.
Yes.
And that's the biggest problem, because all of a sudden you've got, Tyler Hero, and I'll use him as example, somebody picking up the Miami Heat in 1920 products, and breaks, and they're buying it specifically, like looking for Tyler Hero stuff. And the checklist says he's in there.
Yeah. And they're about to expire. They're not that long. They're not that far from expiration too.
Panini, what I will say about Panini,
they're great.
They are really good with honoring the expired redemptions as long as they still have them in their warehouse.
And even if they don't, if you bring a bunch of them, like I brought a ton to the National last year that were just expired and weren't like 8 years old. They were relatively new, and they replaced it for a couple of white boxes.
Right. And but that takes actually going to the National, to do that. Although there have been stories of being able to call and say, hey, I've got these redemptions that I've put in there. I've been waiting that number, and they could find them maybe.
Different story.
That's a whole other story. But Panini is actually good about honoring the expired redemptions. Mm-hmm. But the problem is not that the redemptions are expiring. The problem is that, people are buying this product that are, in this case, Heat fans that are expecting, hey, I've got a shot at a Tyler Hero auto.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, because he's not going to be signing them, or at least that's what your sources have told you, that alters the checklist after the fact, after all this product has been put out. And granted, at the time, he wasn't the huge name, because obviously that's, Zion and, Morant and, Jordan Poole is that year. So there's a lot of other value within the product.
Oh yeah.
But Hero is still a
top tier guy. Yeah.
He's I wouldn't say top tier.
Top two, second tier.
He is the top. He's one of the top guys in the second tier.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people that chase him. There's a lot of Heat fans out there. So they're looking for his autograph stuff. And hey, we got these redemptions. All right, cool. We'll go get a redemption. So he doesn't sign them. And now all of a sudden it's like the card never existed in the first place. And you have people that put out money in breaks. You have people that bought redemptions, that other people pulled and things like that. That are all of a sudden they're out money. Now, granted, Panini will replace those with something else, but that's not what they paid for.
Exactly.
When they bought the redemption, bought the break spot, bought the product, they paid for a Tyler Hero.
Yep.
And they're not getting it.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing to me, is that, the whole The whole process right now is a little messed up. The good thing, at least outside of, the Ceedee and Brian Gray situation, like we were saying earlier, I do think with Fanatics, when they get all these licenses, when all the players associations and everything are involved in this, I think it's going to, like you said, I think we're going to see redemptions get even better. I don't think you're going to see as many because, like you said, there is going to be pressure from the MLBPA to keep this deal going good, because it's a lot more than just cards. It's a lot more than just cards and it's a lot of money towards the PA, the players, everybody. It's a lot more than $100,000 contract that these guys are looking at.
Correct.
So I do think you're going to see a lot of change when those things go over. But with Brian Gray and Ceedee Lamb and these and other companies, like you said, Upper Deck, another company that does a lot of exclusives and outside deals, this is a case to really keep an eye on. I don't. Well,
even Panini does some outside deals. They're, like I said, they're Players Association licensed baseball products are all individual contracts.
Yeah.
For those, so it's that could have an effect on it as well.
No,
although that won't, because again, Panini's products are going to be rolled into well, not the name brands, but the sports and stuff like that will be rolled into Fanatics. But in the next couple of years, it still may have a chilling effect where all of a sudden we're not going to see these guys signing contracts to sign cards.
It's going to be an interesting one to watch, and per some conversations I've had, Ceedee was the first. I don't expect him to be the last. That is one thing I will say from some conversations with people that I've had very, very close to this whole thing. I do not expect him to be the last, but he will be the first. And this is something to follow because it's going to, like you said, it could end up having a chilling effect if it goes to court. There's a lot of possibilities. I, like you, don't think it will get there. But this is a pretty big precedent, and it's nice to see Brian Gray putting his foot down for his customers. You know what I mean? I mean, he's really saying, like, look, guys, like, this isn't happening. I'm fed up with it. We're doing something about it. And so I love seeing Brian Gray, who's never been shy to file a lawsuit. Brian Gray taking Ceedee Lamb to court.
And I can, over the past, 4 or 5 months, I kind of feel like with all the lawsuits that have come out that we've talked about and discussed, I kind of feel like we are the sports version of the people that, watch the Supreme Court like a hawk. Talking about all the decisions that are coming out, things like that. I get that feeling.
Well, it's national time, man. We talked about it on Hobby Hotline. Every year around the National, lawsuits come out. People get caught scamming, and then major news drops, and then we have the National. And here we are, about less than 60 days away. Lawsuits are coming. Stuff is happening. People getting caught scamming and stealing and breakers and all this big time stuff. And here we go to the National. It's a yearly thing. I mean, if you listen to last year's shows, we were talking about the same type of stuff leading up to the National. It's a yearly trend, but we'll move on to that, man. And you mentioned it earlier. The checklist is affected by these redemptions. Redemptions have an effect on the checklist. Well, you did a little digging, and I got to give you some props on this, some major digging. And Topps has a new release out, but something's not quite adding up.
No, something's not quite adding up at all. So Topps Sterling came out last week, and I was doing a dive into the product, just taking a look at it, seeing what's there, what's out there. And it's 8-box cases, 2 cards per box.
Right.
And supposedly, according to Topps, every case has 2 1-of-1 cards in it. And there's a bunch of different varieties of 1-of-1 cards and, that. So I decided to go through the checklist and look to see, hey, what are the 1-of-1s that are available out there? And, what are we looking at? And I took the checklist that Cardboard Connection put out because it's, they pull directly from Topps. It's an accurate checklist. They've always been good about making sure that, they get it right.
Absolutely.
So I totaled up. I'm like, what? Let me see how I'm trying curious as to how much.
Especially with the F1 Superfractor stuff that we were talking about the week before, which a third has been found as an update on that. So we'll touch on that later on some other time. But
yes. So what I did, I took all of the one of ones, and from I think there's like 3 or 4 different categories of one of ones that are out there, and I totaled them up, and there are 416 of them on the checklist. Okay. So at 2 per case, there should be 208 cases of sterling, which seemed, look, it's not a lot, but it seemed, this is a high-end product.
It is.
It seemed reasonable that it would be a low case count. So there are 8 boxes in the case, 2 cards per box. So there are 16 cards in a case. Make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So 16 cards times 208 cases is 3,328 cards.
Okay.
All right. Subtracting out the 416 one of ones, 2,912 non one of one cards.
Right.
So I started working backwards, going through the rest of it. There are, if you take the base rookies, which there's only 2 players, 4 total cards. Wow. I think they're numbered. They're 25. Numbered to 25. And then but then I also took parallels as well. There's 164 of those. All right. So now we get down to 2748. Well, then I decided to start looking at some of the other cards in there with the parallels. One of the series is within there. There's 3,280.
Whoa.
With the parallels. Sterling Strikes, there's 984 cards. Sterling Swings, 2,747 cards.
Whoa.
The Splendor Jumbo, 342. The Splendor Jumbo Duels, 378. The Splendor Triples, 208. So you can see where the problem is. Totaling all those up, there are 5,191 cards that are unaccounted for.
Yeah.
With 208 cases.
Wow. So
what's wrong?
Yeah, seriously.
This leads to a whole ton of questions. Yeah. And I called a buddy of mine who owns a card shop, pretty big one, in the Chicago area, ran this by him, and he confirmed the math. He confirmed that, again, there's supposed to be 2 101s in a case.
Yeah.
The 16 cards, the whole thing.
Right.
And I just wanted to get a second set of eyes on it because I couldn't believe it. When I was looking at those numbers, like, okay, there's more cards.
That's a big discrepancy.
Well, the discrepancy is larger than what is in 208 cases.
Right.
So here's the problem. Okay, it could be something as simple as, okay, there's more one of ones out there than are on the checklist. Okay, if that's the case, then we need to recalculate everything. But it would also mean that there would need to be more than double of the one of ones that are on the checklist that are out there for the product in order for there to be 2 per case. It could be that they screwed up and they didn't put 2 per case.
Right. Yeah.
But even if there was 1 per case, there's still a discrepancy.
Yep.
It's not as big because instead of having 3,328 total cards, there would be, double that, which still leaves over 1,000 cards unaccounted for. And we're not talking about like Topps Flagship where, hey, if there's 5,000 base cards that aren't in there, or a discrepancy like, hey, there's 3,000 more Wander Francos than there are
Brujans or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's not a big deal.
Right.
But this is sterling.
Yep.
This is, everything's numbered to 25 or less. And, and you have that, you are expecting all of the cards to be there.
Absolutely, especially when you're paying around $1,000 a box, you'd expect some. I mean, when you're up in $1,000 box territory, especially with box odds and pack odds, that's incredibly important, and it's more important than ever in this day and age because of the breaking aspect, because of the way cards are opened. It's no longer just at card shops and individual packs. These are team breaks. The stuff needs to be calculated and the collation needs to be done correctly. And we just talked last week about F1 having obviously major issues with their pack odds. So that means that there's a lot more F1 out there, or a lot more hits than they say, or who knows what could happen.
With the F1, it may not be, because if there's only the third 70th anniversary and there's no additionals, now I highly doubt that.
Right.
But if there's only the third, okay, they're slightly off, but it's not completely
right.
off.
My saying was that we're starting to see a little bit of a trend here. We have something with a problem with F1 checklist or pack odds. Now a high end product like Sterling. This is crazy.
This is not a small thing though.
That's what I'm saying.
This is a massive. I'm shocked. Like I really want to go through last year's. I should have. We had the time. I mean, the week. I want to go through the last couple of years and see what the story is. But what I couldn't find from last year was how many of the 101s are supposed to be per case.
Right.
And that was the tough thing to find. So I don't know if it was advertised this year. Topps is specifically advertising. There are 2 1-of-1s per case.
Yep.
We know how many boxes are in a case. We know how many cards are in a box, and based on the checklist, we know how many 1-of-1s there should be.
Right.
So what happened to the other cards?
Yeah, exactly. What are they? Where are they? Are they in boxes? Are there more cases? Are the pack odds wrong?
Well, the only thing that I could think of, potentially that could make it accurate is some of the individual cards that are the base version is supposed to be out of 25 is actually
out of
shorter
10
print run. Yeah, but none of what I saw showed that.
Yeah, when you showed me the map, I looked at the checklist and looked at all that because a lot of some of the high-end stuff, they'll put a little asterisk and say, hey, this player's red instead of 99 is only out of 50 or something. They'll have those asterisks on the checklist. I've looked everywhere on Sterling to see.
Or sometimes like next to the checklist, they'll, like in the header, they'll say, serial number to 25, players with less noted next to each player or whatever. And it's noted next to each player. I can't find a single example on there of it's noted, being noted per player.
Yep.
So what's going on? We don't know which ones aren't in there. We don't know, of the ones numbered to 25, maybe they only put a small sampling of them into the product. But then that begs the question is, what are they going to do with the other ones? So,
and are all the cards that you're looking at on the checklist in the breaks that you're paying a lot of money to get into?
Right.
Case breaks of this are not cheap. I mean,
it's not just case breaks. I mean, there's your typical guy that just likes to bust his own with a shot at getting a Mike Trout.
Yeah.
I'm just using it, or a Wander Franco rookie.
Yeah.
He's got 2 of them in there. He's, Tim and Vital Brujon. I don't know why they didn't do any additional Sterling debut autograph relics in this, but there's 2 variations of each guy. And hey, I want a shot at getting one of these guys, so I'm going to drop $1,000 and, rip one of these boxes. I got 2 cards in there, and I got, 2 chances. It's like scratching off lottery.
Yep.
There's people out there that like to do that instead of getting in breaks. Cool.
Yeah.
We get that. But I want to know I want to know what happened to the rest of the cards. Why is there, based on the odds, a discrepancy? And I would love somebody at Topps to reach out and tell me what the hell happened. Or I would love to have somebody reach out to Topps and say, tell me where my math is wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
because if they tell me there's more than 208 cases, I'm going to say, well, okay, well, if there's 2 1-of-1s per case, either you're wrong, or there's more 1-of-1s that are on the checklist that are not published.
Yeah.
So what are they?
Yep.
And publish them.
Yeah. Put it out.
Fix it. This is a huge problem with a high-end product.
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of those things where Topps needs to address this. Topps needs to put this out, because when other high-end products come out, it's going to raise questions to people. I mean, this is going to raise flags to me. I'm going to look at this stuff on high-end products like crazy. You better believe it after seeing
Sterling Racing, Sterling F1 just came out. I'm going to go run the numbers on that.
Yeah.
Those are 5-box cases, and they're selling for over $20,000.
Exactly. This is not small stuff here.
No, this is not small at all.
Guys, if you're if anyone is opening up, I know we have a lot of breakers that listen to the show. If you guys are opening up Sterling, please comment. Let us know if you're getting these 1-of-1s per case. If you're hitting any cases without them, let us know how everything's going, and we will keep following up this story as well, as there's a lot of answers I think we need to have figured out. So yeah, so some major craziness in Sterling, man. I don't know what's going on, but good catch by you. And
thank you. This is,
amazing research. I like
this is what happens when you put the math geeks to the to the test.
Hey, I love it.
And fortunately, Topps publishes their odds.
Yes.
But in this case, it wasn't odds. It was, because again, Panini could come out with a product and say, hey, there's 2 101s in the case.
Right.
And if I have a checklist, I can figure out, okay, what's the production run? And then with all the other numbered stuff and things like that, yeah, I could figure that out, even though Panini doesn't publish pack odds. But Topps does publish pack odds. They also, in this case, said how many 101s per case. And because every single card in this product is serial numbered, it's easier to do the math than it is with, because again, like Prism Basketball, I have no idea how many autographs they produce.
Right.
The base autographs that are not numbered, things like that. So, but in this case, it's simple. And, it could probably be done with Flawless, or National Treasures, and things like that, where everything, is numbered. But in this case, this is a massive discrepancy, and we need to get some answers from Topps on what's going on.
Well, we will continue to follow up with Topps. I did send an email out yesterday, hoping to get some answers back, and send a couple of texts to a couple of people. So we will keep you guys updated with this, but be on the lookout for it and be aware that Sterling has some massive discrepancies in their pack odds, and at this moment, we have no clue where, what happened, anything, but all we know is there is a major problem. Be aware before you drop a ton of money on that all that Sterling. But speaking of numbers, Topps dropped Topps 100, man. First we had Project 2020, then we had Project 70. Now we've got Topps 100.
And I've been a big fan of the art cards for a long time. I like what they've been doing. I think some of the Project 2020 stuff got out of hand, especially once people started going after the low print number stuff. And this one is a little bit different. So with Project 2020 and Project 70, they put the cards up for sale for a specific period of time. And however many sold, that was the print run. With Project 100, they're putting the cards up for sale, and there is a set print run for each card. So I went on, I saw it this morning, and I'm glad I did, because so they have a couple of different variations. They've got the base variation, which it looks like they're printing 3,999 of. And I did pick up the first 3. I picked up the Wander Franco, which is now, I'm literally on their site right now. It's sold out already. Card number 2 is Derek Jeter. I love Derek Jeter. I actually like the design of the card. I like the art on it. Card number 3 is Shohei Ohtani. I picked that one up too. It's a really cool looking card. I actually like Jay Dembski as an artist as well.
Me too. Great artist.
They also released card number 4, which is Mookie Betts, and card number 5, which is Roberto Clemente. I'm not a Betts fan. It's an interesting looking card. It's not really my cup of tea. The Clemente is an old school thing. I actually probably will pick may pick up later. But what they also did was they did a couple of different variations. So there's a deluxe edition numbered to 100. There's a signed artist proof edition numbered to 20. And I thought I saw, I'm going down. That's 20. That's 20. That's 100. I thought I saw like a 500. I guess not. I thought I saw one to 500, but I guess that's not. So it's just a deluxe edition to 100, signed artist proof edition to 20. Yeah. Oh, I know where I saw the 500. The signed artist proof edition to 20 is $500. Deluxe edition is $150. And the base cards, by the way, I failed to mention this. So not unreasonable. And
$20?
No. And the one thing that's different about this compared to Project 2020 and Project 70 is there's no discount for buying multiple.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I like the art. I like I'm curious to see who else is going to be coming out. I'm not doing the whole set.
Yeah.
But I am picking up the ones that, especially knowing that it's a limited print run for each card, I am definitely going to be picking up the ones of the players that I like or the artists that I like, or
absolutely,
even if it's a player I don't like or an artist I don't like or don't know, if it looks cool, I'm going to pick that up just because it's, it's one of those things that's like a nice display.
It is. They're nice displays, and I honestly think they're incredibly undervalued in a world where I think in 5 years where card art is going to be incredible. I think both on the secondary side with card artist and where card art is in Topps and Panini and everything else, I see a massive influx of that coming in the next 5 years. I think these are incredible longevity pieces, but I love this Topps 100 set. I like the not printing on demand. You've already got that with your Topps Now and everything. You've done that with all the other ones. I like that change up. And the thing I love the most is that they added in some foil. They added in some extra stuff to make the cards pop a little more.
Right.
And I think the art combined with the design elements that they tweaked, I think they really may have gotten it right with this one. So that's why like you, have purchased quite a few of these first couple. I did get a Wander before it sold out.
I'm shocked that the Wander was still available this morning.
Me too.
I saw it on there, and it's like, okay, I gotta grab this. Yep. And it was I completely forgot this was coming out today. I was perusing Instagram, and it popped up, and it's like, okay, I gotta check this out. And it's like, all right, that looks cool. And like, holy crap, it's still available, knowing that it's a defined print run.
Yes.
So I'm like, yeah. So I grabbed that, and it's like, oh wait, Jeter's there too. I'm like, all right, crap, I love Jeter. I gotta that, and it's like, oh wait, Ohtani. Like, all right, cool. Yeah. So I had to pick up the first three, and it's like, all right, I'm gonna.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, they look cool. I think this was I was wondering what they were going to do to continue the art theme for this year, and we hadn't heard any rumblings about it whatsoever. They kind of dropped this 100% out of the blue, and I love it. I think they did a lot to change it up, and I've been impressed. I will say this. I've been very impressed with their foray into art. I hope they don't. This looks a little more like they're going with realistic and more like true to the player form sets, as opposed to letting it go out there with some of the artists, which I like that, which I liked last year's Project 70. It had one of my favorite artists and friend, Alex Party, in there. His crazy stuff like the Acuna with the mouth open and everything, he did some cool stuff, but this looks much more.
I bought one Project 70 card, and I loved it because it was a throwback to my childhood, because it was the Randy Johnson on the Nintendo Duck Hunt.
Yep.
Cover.
Absolutely.
That was like that card. I'm like, holy shit, I gotta have this card.
Yeah.
And it's like I bought one just for me. I don't I'm not gonna go. It's PC cards. One of the few PC cards that I've got, and I absolutely love the thing.
Yeah. And so, Project 70, I thought it had its own really cool feel, but, I like where they're going with Project 100. I think this is going to be really cool. I love the foil elements. I love the limited print runs as opposed to print on demand. That's going to help keep the scarcity and demand down and hopefully the value up. But, guys, just to let you know, Project 100 is out now. So make sure you head over to the Topps website and check that out. But, guys, we will be right back after we pay some bills. And welcome back, everybody, to episode 148 of Let Me Get That Potograph. And guys, normally this is the time where the segment that takes the nation by storm pops in, but today we're going to pause it for a minute. We're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to start a new segment that we'll put in here every once in a while, not all the time, but we'll slip it in here every now and then, and that's what are we buying? We've had a ton of people ask this in our mailbox threads. We've had about 20 or 30 people, I think, send a message of, could you do a segment on what you guys are focusing on your buying habits on right now? So we thought, what better week than after we took a week off to dive into it? So, and
this is one of those where I've been hesitant to address it because, a couple of the guys that I'm buying are, they're under the radar.
Same here.
Under the radar. Like, I don't want to let on that, hey, these are the guys
so
I'm
got
looking for. Exactly. Like, I want everything, and then I'll let everybody know that, I've got it all.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things, like, all right, I don't know if we should be doing this or not.
Yeah. But with so many emails to do it, I figured it would be a good thing to address. And so I'll let you start out. So,
all right.
Scott,
so I've got a couple that have been long-term buys, and I'm okay. Like, hey, I'm gonna throw this out there because there's no way that the value on some of these guys is gonna be like huge. 2013 Bowman autographs, Paco Rodriguez rookies. I still need, and they're out there somewhere. I need the red and the superfractor. They exist. They've been pulled. I saw them at one point in time, but people were not letting them go for realistic prices, considering the guy's been out of the league for like 5 years.
Yeah.
I don't know what drew me to Paco back in 2013, but like I got a crap load of the orange autos. I got a crap load of the golds. I got, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, I just need to continue this on. I just want to finish the rainbow. And then one of the other guys that I have been buying for years, going back to 2011-12 hockey. And this is a guy that actually I sold off a bunch of stuff after he was a Chicago Blackhawk at the time, sold off a lot of his stuff back after the 2015 Stanley Cup before he got traded to Columbus, and that's Brandon Saad. He's playing with St. Louis right now. They're still in the playoffs. They're actually playing well, although with a goalie change due to injury, I don't know how well it's going to be, but he's put up some really solid numbers this year compared to what he's done in previous seasons. And what I typically buy for him is stuff numbered to 10 or less. Yeah. Sometimes I'll stretch it to 25, depending on if the patch is cool or something like that. The guy that I'm prospecting on right now, there's one, and that's Miguel Amaya.
Nice.
2019 Bowman.
Yep.
Is his first Bowman card. I have been buying him up recently. The ones that I'm specifically after are color from Bowman, the color from Bowman Mega Box, so the Mojos, and the low numbered color from the National Convention redemption packs from that year. And I recently picked up the black 1/1 auto from the National Redemption Pack a couple of weeks ago, and I got it at I think what the market price should be on that particular card. But I think, with him being on the DL and he had Tommy John surgery, so he's not going to be throwing this year when he comes back.
Yeah.
But he'll be hitting a little bit later in the season. And with Wilson Contreras' contract expiring after this season, whether or not he's going to get renewed, whether or not Amaya, is going to be ready at the beginning of next season to come up to the majors. But I think, especially as a Cubs fan, he is the pitcher of the future, the catcher of the future for the Cubs. And I think he's got a tremendous upside right now. And he is very, very, very undervalued. And I think it's because of the Tommy John surgery.
I agree. I like all those picks. I can see why you'd be chasing some of them, and I love Amaya. Amaya, I think, is a wonderful buy. I think he is somebody. I know I've got a lot of him. The national cards in particular that you mentioned, I love.
I ripped a ton of those packs back then.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah.
Well, on my end of the side, little different here. As always, I'm chasing my East Carolina rainbows and stuff like that. But I'm always chasing those, always looking for Blake Prohl, Bryce Williams, stuff like that. But when it comes to stuff for other people and in the hobby and in general, I've been chasing one thing in particular, and that is, two things in particular. Old school basketball inserts from 94 to 99, just super short print inserts.
You and everybody else.
But I've kind of narrowed my focus a little bit. I've gotten to the point where I think PMGs have hit an area where they're unattainable to most. Even though a lot are coming down, they're still very, very high. I've been chasing after Star Rubies. The raves, the super raves from Z-Force, things like that.
Yep.
Some of the early other low numbered parallels. If you look at all the old school fleers, I've been grabbing a bunch of masterpiece 101s because I'll tell you, it doesn't matter if it's a common or a superstar. They're in insane high demand right now. So I've been grabbing up. I just bought 4 masterpiece 101s of commons the other day, flipped them the same day at the show for double what I got them for. I mean, you can't hold on to them. But I've been buying a lot of Star Rubies, football, basketball, a lot of old school 90s, and then of course super short print inserts. I've been building the early sets of Finest, Bowman's Best, things like that, because it's entering that almost pre-vintage territory now.
Yep.
And a lot, if you look at the PSA set registry, if you look at the sold comps on even the base and the commons, they're starting to go up. The sets and the boxes are doubling, some of them, with Topps getting the licenses back coming up soon. Dropping Finest helped put a big emphasis back on the old stuff as well.
And I'll say, I liked that the new Finest product that they just released. I mean, and especially I hit that Larry Johnson gold auto out of there. That was a nice hit. That was a nice one. But that was a cool product. But I think those Star Rubies are significantly undervalued compared to the PMGs. Mm-hmm. I have had a lot of those over the last year that have been sent to me to grade with SGC.
Yep.
I am a bulk SGC guy. And yes, I'm running a promo right now for a little giveaway of some swag on my Instagram page at STR Cards. So I'm going to plug that really quick. But those Star Rubies, and I've gotten a lot of PMGs, have been sent to me as well. But a lot of those PMGs, especially when you're buying them on the secondary market, have been trimmed. There's a lot of trimming that has gone on with those cards.
There's a massive forgery market out there right now.
Correct.
PMGs, because actually before Josh Luber bought Fanatics, and we were was hired by Fanatics, we were at the Philly Card Show, and he brought up 7 PMGs that he had bought off of the him and another buddy that I won't name because he's not in the business publicly as much, but they came up and they had bought 7 PMGs off the market that were fake, and you couldn't tell the difference. There's a massive forgery market out there from everything from comics to the basketball, everything on PMGs. So that's why I kind of look at Star Rubies and I think, okay, this is a set that is still a parallel that is still attainable somewhat, but it's not having so much focus on it. So I think tons of them.
I think aren't there some known Kobe Star Rubies that are known to be fake?
Yes.
There are some of those out. They're not as widely faked as the PMGs.
Yeah,
but they are out there.
Yeah. So
be very, very careful with, especially if you're buying them raw, with what you're looking at there.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been buying right now. It's old school stuff. And, I've got a couple of prospecting, and then obviously my other answer would be tons of soccer. I'm still buying parallels like crazy of soccer. But that's what I'm buying right now. So hopefully that answered a lot of mailbox questions, because we got a lot of them. That's a little bit of what we're buying right now. But guys, before we wrap up today's show, a little bit of news coming down in the soccer world, Scott, as we've been talking soccer blowing up in the card market, but couple moves that have been announced and that have been made lately that could really shake up the soccer market here in the near future.
Yeah, we talked about it a couple weeks ago with, Holland moving to now Premier League champions, Man City. And I will say I was switching back and forth between the Man City and Liverpool games, just to see what happened. It's like, I mean, that was exciting, coming down to the last day in order to, figure out who the champion was. But big one, I think almost bigger than Holland, is Kylian Mbappe decided not to go to Real Madrid, and he's staying with PSG, Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah.
That, in and of itself, everybody expected him to leave PSG, and go to Real, and like last minute, he just came out, he's like, no, I'm gonna stay. And they offered him, I mean, the contract they offered him is just absolutely ridiculous. He is going to be the highest paid player in any of the European leagues. Actually, I think he's going to be the highest paid player in the world.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's anybody outside of Europe that's making the kind of money that the guys inside of Europe are making.
Yeah.
And they're also giving him operational, so, at least limited operational control.
Yeah.
They're going to be bringing in a new sporting director, which is kind of, for those people that don't know soccer, that's like the general manager.
Yes.
They are going to be, and it looks like they're bringing in his guy.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Yeah. That was a move done with him in mind, 100%.
And they're going to be bringing in a new coach. They're looking at a couple of guys, and all the guys they're looking at are, like he's going to have input into it. He's turning into, and we joke about this, he's turning into LeBron James.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not LeBron actually has operation, we know behind the scenes, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be huge. You know, he's from France. He's going to be playing for his hometown team when the 2024 Olympics come to Paris.
Yes.
And that's going to be absolutely insane.
Nuts.
I think that was a huge move. So the question is now, what's Real Madrid going to do? Because they were counting on getting Mbappe.
Yep.
What's Real Madrid going to do to replace him? And there's a lot of discussion. You know, they're talking, Paul Pogba, who's with Man United.
They're going to make a big move.
There's talks of moves, but I don't know if Madrid's going to be going after Pogba.
No.
There's talk of Pogba going to PSG.
Yep.
All sorts of stuff. And, obviously we know the Borussia Dortmund young guys, they're not going to be around for long. All sorts of other moves. Some of the Premier League teams. There's talk of Harry Kane possibly moving. This transfer window is going to be exciting. Oh,
man, it's going to be incredible. Then you've got Messi also going over, announcing that in 2023, he's headed over to Beckham's new team here in Inter Miami and going to be having 35% of the team as well. You've got him going over to MLS. Even though it's not a done deal yet, it seems like he's pretty much said it's a done deal. And you've got the MLS market just starting to explode in soccer as well. But this European transfer window and this Mbappe deciding to stay has just made it. Real Madrid's going to find somebody. So they're going to have some moves. Like you said, this transfer portal is going to be insane, and it is going to shake up the soccer market so much because it is going to bring a lot of these younger guys, a lot of this youth. It's going to push them to the forefront. And it's going to give them opportunities as well as these big teams keeping guys like Mbappe and these big guys moving as well. So interesting times in the soccer market, man.
It's fun. It's fun to watch. I love it.
I love it too. And it's gonna have a massive effect on the hobby. And that's why I say, guys, soccer. Pay attention to it. Do not ignore it. And it looks like it's about to get very, very interesting, but Mbappe shocking the world, really, and staying at PSG. Interesting news. We'll see what happens, and of course, we will keep you guys updated. But I'd be grabbing some of those Mbappe cards because they're about to go up, baby.
Again, about to go up again because they were up and then they dropped. Exactly. Now's a good time to buy.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Let Me Get That Potograph. Once again, I'd like to thank our awesome sponsors, Vintage Breaks, Card Crusade, and Vanity Slabs, and of course Slab Strong. Thank you guys so much. Could not do the show without you guys. And of course, guys, we have Letter Rip coming very soon. We have a big Letter Rip coming here in about 2 weeks. Jeff and Panini are hooking it up big, so a major giveaway coming up soon from Let Me Get That Potograph. We also have some really big cool news and some awesome interviews coming up in the next few weeks, so stay tuned. We've had to push back things a little bit because of having last week off, but we've got some really neat stuff coming up for you guys in the future, including some awesome giveaways and promos. And as Scott said, he is an SGC bulk subber, so he does have a really cool swag kind of giveaway and everything over on his Instagram as well. Shout that out again, brother.
So check out at STR Cards on Instagram. Got a little swag kit from SGC that's got that post. And Drew, I have a new product also coming out too that is also called Letter Rip. It is a combination of alphabet soup and a laxative. So keep an eye out for that. It's going to be coming out.
Oh, I love it. Oh, there ain't no better way to end it on that note. So until next week, guys, you know the deal. Keep ripping those packs, pulling those hips. We'll talk to you next week.
See ya.